Thank you. My name is William Langston. I'm a psychology professor at Middle Tennessee State University and the faculty advisor for the campus's all-inclusive lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender student organization. And I'm presenting with Joshua Rigsby, who is the president of the organization. And Josh is elected to take the questions from the panel. So I'm hoping that you can come up with some very challenging questions. The universities and community colleges in Tennessee are facing a challenge created by the new funding formula that the state passed. A focus on retention and not allowing students to slip through the cracks is the new focus in Tennessee. And if you look at the statistics for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender students, the peer-reviewed literature suggests a rather alarming picture. The first thing is that lesbian and gay, bisexual, and transgender students are at a higher risk of dropping out of college for a variety of reasons, including harassment, but also primarily familial alienation. When they come out, their families, churches, friends, etc. abandon them, and they have nowhere to go, and they have no financial resources, so they frequently drop out. One of the goals of what we're going to be talking about today is a way to help institutions in Tennessee at little or no cost improve their outreach to this population and help them in instances like this. One of the first things we wanted to do, there's a two-part aspect to the project. The first was to find out exactly what is happening in Tennessee, and then the second part is to discuss a solution that we've been working towards to share information amongst institutions. So what we did to begin is undertook a campus climate survey for the entire state of Tennessee. We identified all of the universities, community colleges, in the Tennessee Board of Regents system, as well as all of the universities in the University of Tennessee system, and the 13 largest private institutions in the state. And for each of those, we found the right staff people in student affairs, advisors of LGBT plus student organizations, or student leaders, and asked them to answer on behalf of their campus. We've received so far 13 responses, and the results I'm going to be presenting to you are based on those. The reason for doing this is because the literature that we have available is somewhat localized and relatively old, and there have been a lot of changes in recent years, and so it's important before you try to come up with policy solutions to find out exactly what the policy needs are. So I'm going to just briefly share some of the results of that survey project, and then we'll talk about a conference that we're holding on an annual basis to share information amongst campuses. The primary goal of the survey is to identify strengths that some campuses have and challenges that those campuses face, and then connect people with strengths to people who have similar challenges so that the ones with the strengths can explain what they've done to address those challenges at their campus. The first issue that we'd like to discuss, the question asked people, are students on your campus likely to suffer harassment? And we asked them about specific populations of students. And there's both good news and bad news in the responses to this question. Lesbians, gays, bisexual men and women are likely, somewhat likely rather, to receive discrimination. However, transgender and gender non-conforming individuals are reported as very likely on almost all of the campuses that we've heard from. So on the one hand, some members of the LGBT community are moving forward in acceptance. Other members of the community are in fact not being accepted on their campuses. When it comes to the kinds of incidents that people reported hearing about, the most common is verbal harassment. There have also been a number of instances of jokes, graffiti, and just generalized pressure to keep silent. That's somewhat disturbing. The number of the people who are primarily responsible for these incidents are reported to be students, although if you add the percentages together, faculty and staff actually exceed students in perpetrating these kinds of harassment. So one of the goals that we will have going forward is to come up with solutions to these problems, especially to understand why faculty and staff are at least as likely, if not more likely, than students to be harassing members of their classes and campus community. These results on the surface appear somewhat bleak, but as I said, we've requested from them to discuss challenges and also the strengths that they have. And overall, 91% of the respondents said they did not feel that LGBT students would be unsafe on their campuses. So there's a glimmer of hope. While there are some incidents, they're rare enough not to create an overall climate of unsafety. The second section requested people to talk about who they could turn to in the event that something happened. And in this instance, the faculty came out the best. followed by the staff of diversity boards, whatever the local organization would be on the campus. Unfortunately, the administration, staff, and campus police force in particular were highlighted as areas where you would not want to go in the event that something had happened. And as a member of the faculty, it's good that the faculty are doing well, but it'd be nice if we could get at least the administration, the staff, if not the police force, up to speed on that. We also asked a number of reflective questions of the participants in the survey. The results on those were also mixed, but what we did find is that campuses are moving towards having protections for lesbian, gay, and bisexual students. 90% of the campuses reported that. When it comes to students' gender identity and expression, so covering transgender students, the number is lower. We do have 82% of the campuses with a student organization that represents the group. There is only one of the campuses that reported that has an actual center for addressing these kinds of issues on a strategic basis. In the final reflection, we asked people to tell us what they've done to be successful and what challenges remain. And one of the priorities of this project is that given the budget constraints that universities are under, we don't want to suggest things that cost a lot of money. We want to suggest things that you can do within what you currently have. And one of the respondents summed it up very well. The response was, oh, I just lost my place, I'm sorry. Be open, be active, take part, ask questions, involve, and offer support. And all those things are free, and we already have offices on all the campuses that do those things, just include the LGBT community as a part of it. So that was the first part, and there are a lot more details in the report that we've submitted of the entire survey results. The second part of the project was to create an LGBT college conference to identify primary change agents on each campus and bring them in so that we could have sessions focused on identifying challenges, but have people in the room who also face those challenges and have somehow corrected them. Again, it's a challenge to be creative and not spend a lot of extra money, but to still solve these problems. And the goal was to find the people who've done it and put them with people who had needs so that they could find out the best way to do it. There were a total of 231 participants in the conference. 21 colleges and universities were registered. Director Watts was kind enough to open the proceedings. As a result of the conference, we've had so far, one university has undertaken a campus climate survey, and that's a significant step because if they identify problems, the administration is bound to address those problems, and their administration is cooperating with them on doing the survey. And we've also had at least one community college institute a safe zone program to provide training to faculty and staff, and hopefully the police force as well, to improve their relationships with LGBT plus students. I'm going to close there so there's time for questions, so Josh, you can have a turn. Thank you.
I was a little disappointed to hear that there's only one center in your survey results that addresses these issues for students. Do you have any idea how many colleges, universities in Tennessee actually have a policy of non-discrimination against LGBT students?
I know that both the UT and the TBR systems have a non-discrimination policy that include both sexual orientation and gender identity and expression. The private institutions are on a case-by-case basis. Vanderbilt, I know, does include it. I would like to note there are only 2 centers in the state for LGBT students. One is public at UT and is not entirely funded right now. It's only ran part-time. The other is at Vanderbilt.
Second question is, have you all attempted to collaborate with other groups that have state conferences or meetings so that your issues can be addressed with the other groups as well?
Absolutely. Are you asking in Tennessee specifically?
Yes,
Right.
Tennessee.
There are a few other conferences that do occur right now. However, none of them are engineered to address the needs of the state specifically. Vanderbilt does host a conference that we do attend, as does UT that we also attend, but both of those are regional conferences. And ours has been geared to address just the needs of those students in Tennessee because those are the students that are going to be attending. And legislative difficulties are different for students in Tennessee than they are for students outside of Tennessee.
Want to ask, on your surveys, what was the methodology on distributing the surveys?
We used an electronic survey system provided by the university that they use for all of their IRB surveys that they perform. Dr. Langston is a psychology professor. He's also chair of the IRB board, but we distributed those digitally via email. We gave them a link, and then they logged on. But there are no questions where they can identify which institutions they're from in the survey.
And finally, do you do a final report to any particular agency?
What do you mean?
You told us about the report. Do you send this report any further than this distributing to different entities?
All of our conference attendees will be receiving a copy of the report, as will all of our corporate sponsors. We have presenting sponsors, Deloitte and Son, who supported the event. We also had Open Arms Care, who was our neighborhood sponsor, and we had several supporters, including Cracker Barrel, Project and some others in the area.
Is TBR and UT and some of the other institutions getting copies of the report as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.